Hey, this is Sasha. Thanks for joining me in today's video. And what I want to share with you today are 13 things that are slowing you down to building your money and wealth. And it's not things like saving money at the grocery stores, coupon clipping, or invest more money. It's personal things that you can do and make changes like that. So stay tuned. I'm going to share with you these insights. All right, so the things I'm talking about are really fallacies and cognitive disorders. If you can make this change, this mental switch, you can make changes to your personal life, to your personal financial life very quickly. Unfortunately, it's very difficult. So what are fallacies? What are kind of cognitive disorders? It's really just thinking that is incorrect. It's thinking where you're warped, where you're deleting, distorting, or generalizing things that may not be right. It's not the appropriate thought process because you're biased on things. You're assuming things are one way when in reality they are the other. And if you can make these kind of changes, you could improve your finances very quickly. So for example, let's say you go ahead and you had a bad experience with a certain credit card company. And all of a sudden, there's a new credit card that's coming out that's specific for you. It's, tailored for you. It will give you better rewards. It's based on your spending and so on and so forth. But because you had a bad experience, you don't get the credit card. And all of a sudden, well, you miss out on it because you're biased against that credit card. You have a grudge against that credit card. And now, well, you've missed out on something because of your bias, because of your thought process. So that's kind of one example, but let's hop on to the glass board and I'll share with you some more thoughts and things about these mindsets and psychologies. All right, but before we do, check out our website at MyLittleNestEgg.com. And when you go there, check out the freebies here and the getting started sections, which will really go ahead and give you, free different cheat sheets, mini video courses, and things to ramp up your personal finances, money, and much more. All right, so here's some fallacies and cognitive biases that I have. This is kind of just a general list. There's many more out there, but this is just a starting point for you to kind of open up your mind, eyes, and maybe see the bigger picture of where you could improve a little bit. So there's a handful here, and I will go in order. So let's say you have the shoulds. Hey, I should have done this. I should have done that. And if you're a person that's constantly saying, I should, you're constantly thinking back in time of, hey, what have you should have done? And that's kind of one of those biases that, you're constantly regretting your choices going back and back and back. And this can cycle. People that have the shoulds, they're always thinking, well, I should have done this. I should have done that. And you're not looking forward of what you can now do to improve and make those changes because you're always looking back in time. Another one is blame. So when you're looking at blame, I always blame somebody else. So this is you. Well, hey, I'm not successful because of this, because that person didn't teach me the right thing. I'm not successful because, well, my mom didn't leave me a big trust fund. I'm not successful because I didn't go to college. So you're always blaming something, some reason, some person, some event, something else or external. You're playing that blame game. And, look internally and see what is it that you can do now. Take control of your situation. And what is it that you can do? Yes, there might have been some things that have been bad to happen to you. Some things that maybe just didn't work out and pan out very well. Bad experiences. It happens. I understand. But look at what you can do now. Don't keep blaming things because you're just putting more and more negative energy into those things. And that's really gets into this negative bias concept here where, hey, all of a sudden, hey, that's negative, that's bad. So everything you look at is bad. You're looking at it from a negative perspective. You're looking at, hey, I want to go ahead and buy a house. Oh, well, that's bad. That thing's bad at that house. And that. So you're always looking for kind of the negative, in a way, negative Nancy. And you're just thinking, hey, every one of these things is bad. And you're never really seeing the positive side of things. And what is it that you can actually learn or see or benefit from this thing that you're looking at, this thing that you're experiencing at? You're always looking at it from the negative perspective. So be very careful with that. Polarization is another one that's pretty big. This is kind of looking at things like black and white. And you're thinking, hey, well, I got to go ahead and look at it, hey, this way, because this is what I've taught. This is what I've been doing. This is the precise figure of that number. And, I see this in the finance world because people try to be really specific to the, pennies. Hey, I'm going to save $3,264.27. Yes, that may be specific and you need it in terms of accounting and doing taxes. But, polarization, when you're looking at black and white, very specific, there's a lot of gray areas. If we're saying, hey, we're going to save about $3,000, that's about $3,000. You know, you don't have to get that specific of black and white. There's a lot of gray zones in communication. There's gray zones. There's a lot of gray zones in terms of getting the job done. Let's say you're putting plumbing together and you're trying to go ahead and create one pipe from one end to the other. Sometimes you got to go ahead and tweak some things to go ahead and make your distance. Same thing with, let's say, building a road. Well, maybe you didn't allocate enough space for a sidewalk, and 10 years down the road, now you want a sidewalk. Well, again, it's not always black and white. Sometimes things have gotten in the mix, and so on. So don't polarize things in that sense, black and white. Hey, that credit card is bad. That credit card is good. That person is bad. That person is good. Sometimes, hey, they may have some good and bad things to them. Personalization, where people think of, hey, me, what about me? They take things personally. You might have seen this in grade school, high school, middle school. When you personalize things, they're out to get me, they're out to attack me. By doing that, you're starting to block other things that could be positive that's coming in. So if I personalize things, well, that accountant didn't treat me right because he was mean to me on the phone. Yeah, but they're the best accountant out there, and they saved you the most money out of the last 5 accountants you had over the last 5 years. Well, they weren't very nice to me on the phone. Well, you're personalizing things. So don't get too much into it. Look at, hey, how much money did they save you? That makes the most sense, right? Maybe they weren't as nice or as kind as they could have been on the phone, but maybe they were trying to wake you up. So don't over personalize things, because that could be a problem. All right, change expectations. You're expecting other people to change. Why would you expect other people to change for you? Sometimes you have to change and cater to them. Expecting change is a tough one, because we're dealing with human psychology. It's like you're thinking of, hey, I want to buy this thing. Well, could you go ahead and, normally you ship USPS, but could you ship FedEx, because I just like FedEx better? Well, our system and process, we ship USPS or we ship UPS. We don't ship FedEx. Well, can you go ahead and make that change? I really just like FedEx more. Well, again, you're expecting people to change. It's not always going to work out and happen in your favor. So don't expect these things to happen. Group bias. I've seen this in a lot of mentorship programs that unfortunately take advantage of people. I've heard different stories of things. It's basically when somebody, let's say, stands up and then says, hey, go ahead, take my money. I want to sign up to this mentorship. And then other people start standing up, right? They're in a group. And now you start getting more and more people because of the group. Hey, you're starting to see they all kind of collide together because, well, he's doing it. I should probably do it. And you start seeing that kind of effect. It's kind of like jumping on the bandwagon of investments as well. We deal with this all the time in the stock market world. And my investing channel here. Well, should you invest in Square, in Apple? Should you invest in, in Tesla? Well, I should do it if you're doing it, or I should use your strategy if that's what you're doing. It's based on a group bias. That's a problem. It's not specifically catered to you. Well, why don't you take a step back and really just block out the noise and think, hey, does that make sense for me? Does that work for me? I'm not talking about here, hey, let me personalize these things. I'm talking about actual group bias, where now you're getting influence from all these other areas for you, when instead you got to take a step back and say, hey, does that make sense and fit for me? That's really the smarter approach. Okay, let's look at a reward fallacy. You think, hey, because you put the time in, just like at a university, but you put the time in, let's say you went to school for 4 years, 6 years, 10 years, and now you should get a good job. Well, just because you're smart doesn't mean you'll be successful. I've seen a lot of successful people, a lot of successful YouTubers who are really, not as nice as they could be. And they're not always looking out for the best interest of their clientele. But they're doing well because they're taking advantage of people. Or people think, hey, I'm going to go ahead and work a lot and put my time into a university, and now I'm going to get a great job. But people, the jobs, they don't really want you. And that's unfortunate, right? You may think, hey, now I'm feeling down and bad, but that's what happens is just because you put the time and effort in doesn't mean that you're going to get that end reward. Under and overestimating, these two will kind of group together. Some people, what they do is if you look at stocks, they under or overestimate it. So let's say overestimating, their stock is heading higher, 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 and they think, hey, well, this thing, it can't go much higher, so they short it, or they, go against it, so they dump it, but that stock you know, what it does is actually go the other way, or underestimating. You're underestimating a stock and you say, hey, it can't go much further. And then it does keep continuing to go higher. So this could be things like under and overestimating on your budget, under or overestimating on the time it costs to, let's say, set up a new phone, to transfer out your old contacts, to back up and restore data on your hard drives. It's just general things where you're under or overestimating, especially if you're doing it too often in big financial decisions. That can be a huge problem, meaning, hey, I'm going to go ahead and assume, well, right now I've got $50,000 invested. If I go ahead and make another $20,000, we can go ahead and buy our next house because we'll have enough for a down payment. So you might be overestimating those kinds of things. So that's kind of one way. And underestimating is the same kind of concept, just in reverse. Entitlement, you think and assume, hey, because you are you, or because I've put the years in, or because of me, I deserve this. So entitlement is kind of something where you put yourself a little bit higher on the pedestal. You think because of this, because you've put money here, because you've paid for something, you deserve to treat people like garbage. I've seen this on the different businesses that we run, simply in the sense of, hey, people assume, well, just because I've got your course, all of a sudden I own you, I control you, I'm entitled to more of your time. And it's like, no, we do our best to help people out, but you're not entitled to controlling us. You're not entitled to taking advantage of us, but people assume some of these things, unfortunately. This is what happens. So in your case, are you looking at things where you feel entitled, where you're privileged? And for some people, it's hard to open up and be honest about this. Hey, maybe I'm a little bit thinking too much about myself, where I deserve these kinds of things. So be very careful with this, because you can create some negative thoughts to yourself from other areas. Okay, the all or nothing approach, kind of, hey, I'm going to go ahead, do this, I'm going to make it big. It's going to be all or nothing. I've seen this also in investments. People go ahead, if I go ahead and just put all my money, $20,000 into this thing, it's got to go up. It's got to make me money. Otherwise, I'm going to be down and I'm going to lose probably everything. So they take high risk bets, penny stocks, crazy amounts of leverage on investments. This is kind of the all or nothing approach. It's the same ththing of, hey, I'm going to go ahead and run this business, create this business, and I'm going to put all my money into it. And if it breaks down, well, I'm going to lose, all of my money, because I'm investing a lot in people, investing in this company, this website. It's all going to cost me a lot of money. This is one of the reasons why I have split businesses. You might be wondering, hey, you've got a couple different YouTube channels, you've got different websites, you've got different business divisions, and you're dealing with a lot of investments. Why do I do that? Because I don't want to be in the all or nothing approach. One of the things that I learned early on when I dealt with investments, as ironically as that is when you deal with investments, you learn the key focus is, what if it goes against me? What is my risk? My risk, my risk, my risk. What if this goes in trouble? Let's say a YouTube channel gets hacked. Let's say my website gets in trouble, gets hacked. All these different things. If any one component goes down, I don't want to be in that boat of the all or nothing. And I know some people say, hey, focus, focus, focus on that one single thing. Maybe you're a Wayne Gretzky, Warren Buffett, you're looking at Michael Jordan. But remember, you might not be a Michael Jordan, a Wayne Gretzky, whatever. I'm looking at things from a risk aspect of, would I rather put all my eggs in one basket and focus, 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 or would I rather diversify and watch my risk? What if it goes against me? So anyway, you are you, make your own decision. All right, justification. Hey, I got to justify it. Well, I'm doing this because of that. I decided to take out this loan because of this. And, if you're trying to justify those things, it probably means you're trying to convince yourself that you're doing the right thing. You want to be very careful with that, because now that is skewing your decision to try and manipulate it into justifying, or meaning you're trying to put proof to yourself that that was the right choice and the right decision. So be careful with that. People justify the stocks of, let's say, when Steve Jobs was around. I saw this all the time. Well, I'm getting Apple because of Steve Jobs. I'm getting Apple because of Steve Jobs. And then when Steve Jobs died, they'll say, well, I'm getting Apple because Steve Jobs built the company. So they justify those things, and things, start changing in their mind, but they're justifying it in other ways. So be cautious about all these different items and concepts. And there's many more biases and fallacies out there. My goal is just to open up your mind to these different things It's not to, pinpoint, hey, you're probably doing one or these or the other. I myself have a few of these different biases that come up at different points, but what you want to do is quickly recognize, hey, oh, I'm being a little more biased. Oh, I'm putting all my eggs over here. Oh, I'm trying to justify these things. So be very cautious of that. And as you can spot these things, be more aware. As you can spot these things from this outer perspective, you'll be much better off in your personal financial situation, in your business dealings, to grow your wealth, to grow yourself in a communication, social relationships. All those things will start to improve as you start recognizing these things. All right, so there you go. I hope you found this video helpful and insightful. Feel free to go ahead and grab some of those freebies that I mentioned on our website. You can click this link right over here. Check out some other great videos that I've made, or in other words, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're brand new to this channel. All right, thanks for joining me, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks again, and take care.